Hey guys, well today's video I'm doing my 1 week update on the fast metabolism diet. So many of you asked me to do an update when you saw my recent grocery haul where I had said that we were starting that. So that's what this is going to be. I wrote a list and I have some things to show you, but I have a feeling I'm going to jump all over the place. So if I do, just bear with me. It's kind of as I think of things. I was trying to take notes last week during and then at the end, kind of going over it with my husband, asking him, if he thought of anything that I should say. So this is kind of both of our thoughts together, but mainly mine. And I think I had mentioned maybe in that grocery haul, I was like, it's going to be easier for him than me, which was true to a point because he's one of those people, he kind of sets his mind on something and then he'll just do it and he doesn't think anything about it. Like I remember several years ago when he decided he was going to stop drinking Diet Coke. He just did. And he was one of those people that had it like as soon as you get up in the morning, like instead of coffee for most people, and probably had several a day, had drank Diet Coke for I don't know how many years. So we still have one now and then, but you know what I mean. I'm just saying I knew he was going to be good setting his mind to this. Me, I thought, I don't know if I was like naive or something about it. I was like, oh, it's not that much different than we, already eat, which is true to a point. And I'll get into that here in a minute. So it was like I had hard days and easy days and all that. So if you're not familiar with the fast metabolism diet, I definitely just recommend picking up the book. I know so many of you said you did. I want to just say, I think this book, and the author, Haley Pomeroy, she's a nutritionist, and it gets into her background a lot in the book, which I really appreciated. I think the book was interesting to read, almost whether you're going to do the diet or not. Sure, most of it, or probably like halfway through, talks about the diet, but I actually like the science behind her reasoning of things, and I don't know, to me, like I gained some knowledge. I feel like I'm a good label reader and kind of already know a lot about food in general and what it does in our bodies. But she kind of went in depth a little bit more. And, I'd heard things over the years too in all of my thyroid research, because if you don't know, I'm hypothyroid. So you hear a lot about that in this book too, just on how foods and hormones and things affect, what we eat affects our body and how it breaks it down and what needs what for what action to take place. So I enjoy that part of it. I wanted to do the diet, let me say, one for my husband. He is also hypothyroid, if I've never mentioned that. So I got diagnosed about, I think it'll be 3 years ago this August. He got diagnosed probably about a year and a half ago. And it was the same kind of things, just not feeling good, gaining weight all of a sudden. Just for him, he was really tired. Mother also has been hypothyroid for years, so it was kind of no surprise that then he ended up getting it. So yes, men can have it as well. So he's been on a good medication. He really likes his doctor. I mean, he still may need a tweak, but he's had trouble losing weight. He can lose a little bit, but then it seems to come right back. He actually lost a little bit, and then we went on vacation in March, and I think, it just came back, and he's actually given up, beer and alcohol, and that's only helped a little bit. I wanted to try the diet because, as many of you know, being hypothyroid, I still also suffer from some hormonal issues, which I take medicine for that as well. I take natural progesterone certain days of the month, but I know that diet can affect your hormone levels. So as careful as I am about not eating certain things, I still wanted to see, would this help level me out a little more maybe? And of course, if I lost a few pounds, in the process, that'd be great. Of course, this says lose up to 20 pounds in 28 days. So the diet is for 28 days, and she is very strict in here about you need to do it for the 28 days. Don't stop at like 2 or 3 weeks because you think, oh, I'm looking good, I've lost a few pounds. She definitely says you need to go throughout the whole cycle. And the point is, because your body does go up and down throughout the month, the hormone levels and things change. So like I said, she talks about all that in the book. So that's the reason I want to do it. I've still been roughly about 10 pounds over what my, I would say, normal has been for most of my 30s. I'm 42. It's like my body, now that I'm older, just wants to, even though I've lost weight and a lot of the inflammation after going on a correct dosage and getting my thyroid balanced, my body just still wants to hang on at a certain weight, which actually I don't feel that bad at that weight, and I look okay in my clothes. But I would probably like to drop, a few pounds and, just some fat in certain areas. As we get older women, we hang on to fat in certain areas, and I definitely don't love that. So that gives you a little background, why we decided to do this one. I can't remember where I heard about this one, but when I started researching it, I liked it because it didn't seem like a fad. It was like real food, not much different than how we already ate, but it's doing it in a certain way. And that brings me to like carb cycling. If many of you ever heard of carb cycling, it's basically where just on certain days you eat fewer or no carbs, and on other days you eat more. A lot of athletes do this, and people training, like weightlifting and such. I've read a lot about. This is similar to that in that 2 days of the week cycle, you are taking in no carbs, which she doesn't necessarily call it like carbs, but it's like grains. So you don't eat any grains that day. So there's 3 phases. There's phase 1, 2, and 3. And everybody will tell you anything you read or see. Phase 2 is the hardest. I knew phase 2 was going to be the easiest, or not easiest, but easier for my husband because that's the way he eats normally. I would say I like my carbs like anybody else, but he's one of those for breakfast. You give him meat and cheese, and he's happy as a clam. Like, I never forget when we were in Rome one time, the breakfast, it was like eggs, meats, cheeses. There's hardly any sweets. There's, a little bit of cereal, but just very simple. He loves to eat that way. Give him a piece of chicken and some broccoli in the morning or leftovers. He'd be fine with that. So I knew he was going to be great, but he doesn't eat eggs. That was going to be the problem for me on phase 2. And I'll get into that, was breakfast. It was like, oh my God, what am I going to eat? Kind of look at my list here a little bit. So phase 1 is for 2 days, and that basically is carbs. And you can find all this on the internet. You just Google this and it'll come out. That's what we did, and we printed this out. Phase 1's carb days, Monday and Tuesday. It's easier if you start on a Monday. You don't have to, but it makes the week just make more sense to us. So this is the full list, basically, of what you can eat, and it's broken down by veggies, fruits, animal protein, starches, grains, vegetable protein. This diet can be modified for vegetarian or vegans as well, and she mentions that in the book. What I did, you see the highlighter? I just went in and highlighted all the foods we normally eat anyway, or things we like. And then I know when I was grocery shopping, I can eat these for these 2 days. And then you might even be able to eat them the whole week, some of them, or add things back in on phase 3. So we printed this out. So phase 1 is carb. So it's kind of carb heavy, where you're eating a lot of fruit and grains for 2 days. And she gives her reasoning in the book. Again, it's kind of like to calm the adrenals, and which is another thing with having hypothyroidism. One of the first things my new doctor did was put me on an adrenal supplement as well, because most times they go hand in hand. So if you have a thyroid issue, more than likely your adrenals are stressed and you need adrenal help too. And that's what I kind of think my husband's issue is with his job and just stress at work. He puts a lot of stress on himself. Your body, when it's under stress, holds on to fat. So no matter what you're trying to do, it thinks it needs to hold on to fat because it's stressed out. So it's not going to let you lose weight. So anyway, and then phase 2 is proteins. So that's Wednesday, and Thursday are days 3 and 4. And again, it gives you your list of vegetables, and basically it's just vegetables and protein. There are no grains. There's no sugar that day. It's They're the difficult ones. Going into it, this is our second week now that I'm filming this. Going into it the second week, it's not as daunting as it was. So the first week I was just like, oh my God. The first day of each phase, like a phase 1 and 2, I was like, oh my God, this is too stressful. Trying to like think, what am I gonna eat, even though we planned out the day before. And planning is key. Preparation is key. Make your meals, make your snacks, go down the list. Do I have everything I need for the next day at work? Prep is so key. And that was my husband's #1 tip. He said prep was key. And then the next day on it, you're like, oh, I did this yesterday, so I can just breeze through. And then you'd start a new phase and you'd be back to like, oh my God, what am I gonna do? At least that was my issue. And then phase 3, you have 3 days of healthy fats. And I mean, look at this huge list. Then you add back in your avocado, your hummus, your raw nuts, your oils like coconut oil, olive oil. You can have nut butters, which was great for me. I was like, oh, thank God. I mean, when you get to phase 3, it was like, I felt like I could eat anything, you know, like a piece of celery, say. I would have died for some piece of celery on phase 2 with some almond butter. But no, you couldn't have almond butter. It was just, you know, those little things that you just want to add something with. So it was like that. And on phase 2 as well, let me just tell you one of my issues. So you eat all this fruit for 2 days. Like you are having fruit. Here's one of our little meal plan here. I wrote it out. So phase 1, you're eating a grain and a fruit for breakfast. So you're eating a fruit, breakfast, snack, lunch, snack. So you're eating fruit 4 times a day. That's a lot of fruit. Well, your body is starting to get used to that after 2 days, and that's the whole point. Now you're going to switch it up on the 3rd day. I would have just given anything for one little piece of like a strawberry or pineapple or something, just to have something sweet after lunch one day. I mean, I just thought I was going crazy. So anyway, those were a few little things that kind of drove me crazy. But phase 3, I thought, you know, was great. And phase 3 to me was more like how we normally eat. We were just, you know, more conscious of what we were eating. So, okay, let me just get in. Everybody probably wants to know, did you lose weight? Yes, we did. In the first week, so week 1 alone, and this was actually in the first 5 days. This was, because I stayed the same through the whole set, you know, days 6 and 7, 5, 6, 7 or something. I stayed the same. So did my husband. We both lost, you could say 4 pounds if you want to be, I have a scale that is digital and goes up and down, you know, like that. So I lost 3.8 pounds. Same with my husband. We both lost the same amount of weight. So we were seeing about a pound a day, roughly. Like I said, until like that Friday. And then it just stayed the same. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, we stayed exactly the same. Which was great though, that we stayed the same, even adding back in some healthy fats. So that was great. Same thing today. This is the 2nd day into the 2nd week. And again, I've not lost anything, but I've not gained anything back either. So this is another little piece of paper I really liked, the portion sizes. And this is based on up to 20 pounds weight loss. Of course, she has other portion sizes if you need to lose more than that. So I really liked this because if you just look this up on the internet, portion size, fast metabolism diet, it let you know like, okay, for grains, I can have this amount. For protein, I need this amount. Fruit, you need this, you know. So this was a good, just stand by, always looking at that. So what may be hard on this diet for some of you, that was a little hard for us, but I don't know, it's not actually been that bad. So there's no sugar, no dairy, no soy, no caffeine, no wheat, no alcohol. I mean, there's like 10 different things of like things you can't have. Now, of course, you get sugar naturally from the fruits, but there's so you're not eating any corn products, any wheat products, soy products, no dairy, things like that. So you're not getting like that added. And so for those of you that love your morning coffee, like I do, I only drink like 1 cup a day, sometimes 2. I think for me, it's it's the act of drinking it in the morning, like waking up with it, check my email, all that. And it's something in my stomach because I have cream in my coffee because I don't like black coffee. And I think a lot of it with me is the cream. It's actually the creaminess of the coffee. I don't put a ton in there, but I do like it a little bit. So that was hard not having coffee. And my husband is a tea drinker. He likes hot tea and he likes iced tea. So no tea. She does say if you really have to have it, you can have organic, decaffeinated herbal tea because it, you know, all things that are decaffeinated still have a little bit of caffeine in them. But that is the least likely to have, you know, the lower amounts of caffeine basically. So I think one day he did try something, but he was like, it's okay. It's like, I don't have to have it. There was a couple days, it wasn't so much the first or second day, but there was like a day in there, maybe the second or third, where I just really wanted that morning cup of coffee, but you know, I got over it. And on vacation a lot, I won't always drink my morning coffee because we'll eat breakfast earlier. So there's no time because since we both take thyroid medication, you have to take it on an empty stomach as soon as you wake up and wait, you know, up to an hour. I mean, some people say 30 minutes. I like to wait closer to an hour just to make sure it's absorbed. You've got to be kidding. The phone ringing. Okay, so how many times has the phone ring lately in my videos? How weird is that? I don't know. But anyway, so back on track. This was another really weird thing. I'm looking at my notes here. I was really tired the first 3 to 4 days. And at first I thought, oh, it's because of the caffeine. But then again, like I said, I don't always drink caffeine when I travel first thing in the morning. It would hit me like sometime mid-afternoon, a little bit after lunch. Like I literally need to take a nap, and a couple of days I did. Like I would just lay down in the chair, like I'd read a book, and I read a lot the first couple of days because it kept my mind busy. You know, I was trying to do some work things too, but I felt like that wasn't distracting me enough. So I tried to read to really distract me from thinking about food, and I'll talk about that in just a second too. So I was really tired. The first few days, like, I mean, just felt like I needed a nap. Like, oh my God, I'm drained, you know? So to me, it was hard mentally because the first couple of days, the first 3 days, I'd say, I felt like all I thought about was food all day long. And I hate that. I'm not one of those people. I feel like that's not healthy to be obsessing about food so much. But I think because it was something new, no matter how much we had prepared, it was like, oh my God, am I eating the right thing? You know, you got to eat breakfast within so much of waking up, and then every couple hours you need to eat something. I mean, I would have to set an alarm on my phone the first couple days to remind me to eat my snack because I'm not always a snacker. If I am, it's usually in the afternoon, like about 3 o'clock, I might want something. But this, you're having 2 snacks a day. So you're having 3 full meals and 2 snacks a day. So that was hard for me to remember. And so my husband and I would email each other back and forth trying to keep each other accountable. Like, oh, what'd you eat for lunch? Even though we kind of knew. Or, oh, I just had my snack. Or, so to me, it was mentally draining just thinking of that. And you ate a lot. Like, even if I didn't want my snack, oh my God, now I've got to eat some fruit, you know? But believe me, on those 2 protein only days, you are dying for some fruit. Like you wish you could have the fruit, you know? So it's kind of funny. And my husband thought for sure by the second day into phase 2, which is, you know, the all protein and veggie, was like, yeah, I thought for sure you're going to quit. And I wanted to, but yet I wanted to keep going for him. And I kept telling myself, at least get through week 1. So we both talked about it that day and we're like, let's just give it a week, okay? Let's just see how we do with the week and assess after that. I also had some bloating, I felt like. I don't know if it's just all the fruit or the fiber. I feel like I get a lot of fiber in my diet anyway. But I just felt bloated, like, for most of the week. I mean, it started getting better, I would say, around Saturday. But I felt like most of the week I had like a little tummy pooch, and I'm one of those usually, unless like my stomach's upset or I've eaten something really crappy for a few days. I have a pretty flat stomach most of the time, but I just felt so bloated. Like, I don't know, and maybe that's when I felt tired, you know, like I said. So let me get into that. So my husband and I talked and we were like, okay, let's give it 1 week. So when we went to the grocery store like Saturday or Sunday, he's like, you know, I was like, what do you want to do? I could tell he wanted to continue. And it is motivating when you lose weight, and after you start phase 3 where you can add things back in, you feel like you're on top of the world. You're like, oh, this is great. I can eat anything. You can't, but you feel like you can. So mentally, it's a little better on phase 3. So he was like, yeah, let's do another week. So I'm like, okay. I was like, I feel like now that we have 1 week behind us, I'm better prepared. And now that I'm my second day in to the second week, and we're still on phase 1, this is our second day, our last day of phase 1, I'm not stressing about it at all. Like I'm not stressing. But here's maybe a key too. We decided also if we need to make some minor tweaks going forward, we're going to, because we've both been able to lose 3 or 4 pounds on our own anyway. Just, okay, maybe not drinking alcohol, wine, beer, whatever, not having some ice cream after dinner once in a while, just cleaning up our diet a little bit. I can always manage to lose a few pounds on my own. You know, doing a little more exercise, which the book talks about exercise too. You don't have to do a ton, you have to do it 3 times a week, and it's very phase specific. But, you know, so we're like, okay, did it really do anything? For me, I didn't like the bloated feeling, and I didn't like feeling, I don't know, it wasn't like I felt amazing. If I felt amazing and lost some weight, I'd be like, oh yeah, I'm like all in, sign me up, I'll even do it again. But I didn't, you know, I didn't really feel that much different. So we're like, let's continue, because it does keep us on track when you're planning. I mean, we meal plan to a point, but we're not like crazy about it. But this keeps us on track. But here's where we said we may make some adjustments. So for instance, yesterday we were, and it was funny because I think, was it Sunday or Monday? Must have been Sunday. We ate more. We only had protein and veggie, which is more like phase 2. But that's all we wanted because we had a late lunch. So here was our thing. We were like, you know what? If we don't want that extra piece of fruit in phase 1, then we're just not going to have it. You know, I don't want to feel like I have to have 4 pieces of fruit or 4 servings of fruit in one day if I don't feel like I want it. So that's where we're going to make little tweaks just for us. Plus that, I feel like eating all that fruit and the fiber, I was almost getting too much fiber, because I don't know if any of you know, fiber, you know, is good for your body and keeps you regular, but you can also have too much fiber and then it does the opposite. Nobody wants that. So for instance, you know, I just thought, okay, and if I want nuts on one day as my snack, instead of, oh, maybe it's not phase 3 and I can't have the healthy fats, I'm going to eat it anyway because it's still a healthy food. I'm going to try to stick to the phase specific meal plan as much as possible. But if I want to add one little thing, like sometimes it's so hard because if you're in phase 1 or 2 and you can't even cook something with some olive oil, or you want to add something that's not in that phase, it's really difficult. So I just thought, you know what, if we just free ourselves up to follow the plan as much as possible, but if we want to add something or substitute something, like not eat something, or you know what I mean, then we're not going to put that pressure on us because we're still eating very healthy, whole foods. That's the way we're going to look at it. So that's what we've done going in. But yesterday, honestly, we stayed to the plan pretty closely. We had like our, you know, a fruit for dinner. Then after dinner is a sweet snack because neither one of us had it as our afternoon snack. We skipped it. So you know what I mean? Things like that. Just, we're making it work for us. We'll see how that goes. I think if anything, it still holds us accountable to, you know, being healthy, not grabbing for the chips, you know, with lunch like I normally would do because I love something crunchy. So yesterday, for instance, I had just a few of the almond crackers because they're a great crunch. So even though I had my sprouted grain tortilla, that was my grain, I added a few crackers with it. You know, it wasn't an enormous amount, and that was my lunch, but it gave me that crunch, you know? So we're just making little adjustments like that, but I feel like it's gonna work for us because we actually like to eat healthy. We're just bad sometimes on once we decide, oh, do you want some ice cream? Oh, ice cream sounds really good. Like one of us will just give in and get it instead of this is, oh, we might want some ice cream like last week, but we're like, no, we're not going to give in. And I think that just reminds me of a point. It made me think a lot of it for me is mental. I know as soon as you tell me I can't have something, well, then I'm going to want it. It always happens to me. It's happened to me every time I say I'm not going to do this or whatever. Then I just can't do that to myself because I know it's a mental game with me. So for instance, my husband and I think for I don't know how many months, we didn't have any alcohol, no wine, no beer, anything. My husband likes like really expensive, nice, fancy beers. I drink wine once in a while. We went months without having anything. It didn't bother me a bit. I didn't even miss it. Well, as soon as you tell me now I can't have wine, well, of course I want wine, but it's like, do I really want it? Or is it just a mental thing that, I know I can't have it? I'm one of those people, you see me buy cookies and chips and stuff. I don't eat all of that all the time, but I like to have it for when I do want it because I don't want to be one of those people like, oh my God, it's not there when I want one M&M. Does that make sense? But then I know there's people, and my husband is this person, that can't have it in the house or they'll eat the whole thing. Like he's one of those people, every time he walks by the M&M bowl, he would grab a few. I mean, you can't do that. I'm one of those people just after lunch. For some reason, it's after lunch with me. I know some people it's dinner. I want like a couple of M&Ms and that's it. Sweet tooth, whatever, I'm done. And I literally just eat a few because that's all I want. He's like grabbing a handful and I know that's how most people are too. But for me, I don't mind having that stuff in the house because then it's just there if I do want it. It's not that I'm necessarily going to eat it. So for me, just knowing I couldn't have certain things, even if I wanted them, but I do like the fact that it made you appreciate the small things. It made you appreciate, oh my gosh, today I can have almond butter on my celery. And celery, I'm telling you, that came in handy many days on the protein only when you're having protein and veggies and you need a snack. Well, there's not a whole lot to choose from. Hard-boiled egg, you can't have the yolk on so many phases. Phase 3 you can, but hard-boiled egg white. So I'd make those in advance, have them in the fridge. Again, one of those prep things, that's key. And some celery. That was a great snack actually. And celery was key for a few days, but you know how rewarding it felt to put almond butter on your celery then in phase 3? It was crazy. But that just reminded me of something too, like on phase 3, this is where I'm going to not do this, I'm sure. Like phase 3 though, they still want you to have a veggie at breakfast. You know how hard it is to have a veggie at breakfast unless you eat eggs? It's hard. And I don't always love eggs. And if I do like eggs, I like hard boiled. I don't know. I've talked about this before. Sometimes I eat eggs and they make me feel sick. Sometimes I eat them, they're fine. So that's something like I'd probably leave out because I don't want to have to, now I got to eat some spinach or something that totally doesn't go, because I am not necessarily a sweets person for breakfast. I like my oatmeal. I like, some turkey bacon, but I don't like a real savory. Like I'm not a meat and vegetables person for breakfast at all. I'd probably just rather not eat anything. Okay, so just trying to wrap this up. I know it's long and there's a lot of information. I just think it's one of those things you could just kind of go on and on about. If you guys have any questions, leave them in the comments below. I will definitely try to answer everything I can. But like I said, I did enjoy reading the book. I'm glad we did it and we tried it, and it definitely makes you look at things a little differently. But as I said, just going through, we're going to make little tweaks here and there to the plan if we can, and then try to finish out the 28 days. We're actually going away for the July 4th weekend, which I know there's going to be a ton of temptation there. So I think we'll do pretty good, but we may splurge a little bit here and there because, just all the great cookout foods and things that time of year, and blackberry cobbler and all that. If there's blackberry cobbler around, I can tell you I'm gonna have it. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you found it somewhat helpful. I know a lot of you had questions, how we were going on it. If you guys started it after watching that one grocery haul, let me know how you guys are doing and what you think of it. Or if you need help or, ideas or anything, let me know. Because I know sometimes it can kind of be hard thinking of ideas. Not saying we have the best ideas. You'll see this before you see this video, but I'm hoping to finish it out. We are filming this week what we're having for dinner because Some of you had asked for like some healthy dinner ideas, and while we were doing this, I thought I would incorporate that. Plus that, I know a lot of you missed the what's for dinner videos. I did those years ago and stopped for many reasons, but so I am filming that this week, so hopefully you'll see that a little bit later. But I appreciate you guys taking the time to watch, and we'll see you next time. Bye.